Hi, everybody. Okay, I'll just wait for everyone to settle down. So, £3.5 million. That is the huge investment we've already told you about that Cintra has been making into its software over the last 2 years. Now, I'm going to guide you through what that investment has brought up and how that has evolved our product. I'm going to recap some of the things you've already heard, because I think it's important that you understand that. And you're going to learn also where our product has moved forward to. And when you look back, we'll be able to understand quite how far we've come in such a short period of time. So, where did all of our kind of start with this £3.5 million investment come from? Dan earlier talked all about feedback and how important it is to us as a business. And it all started with feedback. And what were people telling us? They were asking, what's going on with my payroll? If you're an outsourced customer, you used to not have any ability to view what was happening. You would send in an email, it would go to somebody, and then they would process it, and then you'd get it back at some point in the future. It was really hard to keep track, and it was really hard to see the data. And all of those things just increased people's stress. And we could hear that, and we kept hearing that from our customers, and we needed to solve that problem. Next, we were asked, why is your software so ugly? Now, it's probably a little bit of a harsh way to put it, guys, but thank you for that. But our core software really didn't look as modern and as fresh as everyone is used to doing. And you guys might be using this software for hours a day, and you're sitting looking at something that just doesn't fill you with happiness and joy. That's not really a good environment for you. Why don't your HR products work? Okay, again, pretty harsh, but also fair. We had a number of products that we were doing, and they just weren't good enough. We were trying to behave like we had 400 developers, and we didn't. And we just didn't have the right amount of people with the right amount of experience to do the HR products properly. So we listened to that. And then when we started to look at, okay, we want to solve these problems, we had a number of pretty big technical challenges. So starting with quarterly releases. Now, I think you've heard a couple of times from other people about getting to a regular release. And why is that important? Well, if you want to have a feedback cycle where you can learn and you can improve and you can respond, if you have to wait 3 months before you can get anything to your customers, that's not very responsive. And more than that, there was even time before that caused it to be even longer than that. So sometimes it was 6 months after a piece of work was finished before it would get into the hands of customers, and that's mad. We had huge skill gaps. So we had great people working on the technology that we currently had, but what we didn't have is the people we needed to solve the problems that you guys were looking at in the future. And then finally, we just had too many products. I kind of mentioned it a few times, but trying to split a small number of developers over a large number of products is a recipe for very average things right across the board. So, what did we do? Number one, we replaced. And that has meant retiring some things, which I'll go through, and bringing in the likes of Pinpoint and IntelliHR. We've improved. We have fundamentally shifted the way that we manage our development team, the people that we have within that, the way we do releases, and I'll go into a bit more detail on that. And then finally, the key and most important part is, why do we do those things? We do those so that we can innovate and we can give you, our customers, the things that you actually need. So what did we replace? Now, a lot of you would never have heard of Cintra Recruit as a product. Some of you may have done, some of you may not. I'm sorry for those of you who have, because it wasn't very good. And we could have taken the choice to go and spend probably £10 million to make Cintra Recruit decent. But the reality is, we knew that wasn't the right decision for us, and it wasn't the right decision for you. So we replaced that with, I think you would have seen now quite how powerful Pinpoint is. A really, really, truly brilliant software that we believe is just the best ATS on the market. And then we had two more things. We had performance management, and we had Serve Level 3, which had some training and development and a couple of other pieces in it. Both of those features were just really not good enough. The performance management that we had was very rigid. And again, these things are really complicated to build. They take a lot of time, a lot of expertise, and a lot of understanding. So again, we reflected and went, there is no realistic way that we can build those up to the standard that you guys need. So that is why we have now partnered with IntelliHR to build Cintra HR. And I think one of the key points to just bring up with this is, yes, we're working with these partners, but the whole point of the hub and spoke model that we've discussed is that it's a single point of entry. So, and it was a couple of questions that were asked, and I know that other people are probably wondering it. What that actually means is it doesn't really matter where you enter that data. So if it gets entered into Pinpoint, if it gets entered into Cintra HR, if it gets entered into the payroll, our job is to make sure that that data is put where it needs to go. So while these are separate pieces of software, it's important to think of them more like it's actually one provider with one single point of entry that has done the effort to make that slick, easy to use and easy to understand. And there's no, I type it in there, I type it in there, and I type it in there. That is an absolute disaster for all of us. And the whole point of what we've been trying to achieve is to eliminate that. So I just wanted to reiterate that so that you're all aware. The next stage is improve. Okay, so we had our situation where we didn't have the right release frequency. Well, with our brand new product, we push out upgrades every single day. And that means that, you know, as customers, you might not see the upgrade straight away. We may hide it from you so that only Cintra people can see it, use it, make sure that it works for you. We might then roll it out to a small subset and then expose it to everybody. Those are decisions that are made by the individual product managers who get to make those rules. But when you think about how that's going to work, being able to actually push an update is really important. Sometimes we get a really simple request like, oh, have you noticed that this button is a weird color? And we sometimes miss stuff like that. Little things like that, we can respond quickly, get that feedback, turn it around, and the next day, that button is fixed and is looking much better and much more realistic. And again, I mentioned how there could be even longer delays rather than just the release cycle. We've taken the QA process, which is our process of checking software, making sure that it functions, making sure it does what it's supposed to do and doesn't cause bugs. We've automated nearly all of that. So the QA process has gone from taking weeks to literally being minutes and being automated. And that, again, reduces that cycle so that, and you'll see the results of that. The results of that are we can build software faster, more effectively, with fewer bugs. And then we've introduced some new roles. So I talked about how we had a skill gap. Actually, we could have gone out and hired a load of developers. But that actually wouldn't have delivered the value, because if we want to learn from our customers, we need to be speaking to them, and we need to have people who are speaking to them, understanding them, and doing great things. So we've got product managers and designers here, I think largely over on that table over there. Their job is actually to gather the feedback and to understand it and to work through the problems and make sure we're building the right thing. So the product manager will analyze it and will think about it in depth. The product designer will then take some of that thinking and will come up with a really quick prototype, which we'll throw in front of a customer and work with them and say, how does this work for you? What would you do? How would this work? And then you find out that whatever you thought would work doesn't. If we didn't have those people, we'd be building inferior solutions. So it's not just about building fast, it's about not building the wrong thing. And then finally, we've added cloud engineers. And those cloud engineers are fantastic. And they're able to bring in all the different technologies and give you what is a seamless user interface that's fast, easy to use, easy to understand. And that change in skills has allowed us to develop all the next things. So I'm going to kind of move on to the next step, which is talking about what innovation has come as a result of this. And I'm going to start with our core product. And the first thing we actually did was we built report packs into our system. So if you guys aren't using report packs already, if you are users of the software, then you need to start using it. It dramatically shortens the time that it takes to run reports. Before we did this, people would go in, They'd go one, click a report, click another one, and it would take ages to get the right ones. And I'll be completely honest, this was motivated by our outsourced team, which is kind of the power that we have in Cintra, is the fact that we have an outsourced team that's really closely linked with our development team. We can understand the problems a lot better, a lot deeper, and build better solutions. So the report pack module can be an enormous time saver. And we're going to be talking about Cintra Cloud in a second, but actually you can publish that to Cintra Cloud so that rather than having to then download and manually distribute that stuff, you can distribute directly to the people who need it. Now, for those customers in the room who are just outsourced customers, you'll be comfortable knowing that your outsourced person doesn't have to remember which 7 reports that you have. They just click that button and it does it for them, and you get that immediately. And then this was probably a bit controversial at the time, but we updated the design. This is what Cintra used to look like. And I had to go searching to find an old screenshot to be able to do this. But you can see it feels very dated. And we were getting that feedback from people time and time again. This feels really dated. I don't know what's going on here. Now, we've updated it, and I would say we are about 50% of the way on the journey of how we want this piece of the software to look. It looks a lot more modern. It looks a lot more fresh. There's far fewer dark colors, etc. So it does feel more modern. It should make everyone feel happier. And we do believe that making things look nice, even if you don't actually change the experience, does make people enjoy the software more, and that's part of our job. But we will be continuing in the future to update the design and make sure that it becomes more modern and it looks more like you want it to. But moving on to Cintra Cloud, again, this is all about looking back to then look forward and seeing where we've come from. So the first parts of Cintra Cloud went live, it was something like the 17th of October 2020. And we all pushed for that date to make sure that we got something live quick. And this was basically it. Other than a login, you could get a simple list of reports. Very, very basic, doesn't really do anything other than you can click on it. Still useful in its own right, but by itself, not that great. If I look at what that page looks like now, you're going to see that just that page, which is only one of a small portion of what's on Cintra Cloud now, is fundamentally different. You can filter, you can search. Report packs are actually grouped together rather than being a list of reports. You can have the individual reports. And this page is on the individual payroll, so you can actually filter by the individual payroll and only see the reports related to that. So just looking at that one page and seeing how that has gone from this point over to that point there just illustrates the amount of progress that we're making and what we're trying to achieve for you, our clients. But then kind of moving on a little bit, you'll see our main payroll page, which is what all of our outsourced service customers get, and our software customers can expose to other people within their business. It gives you an amazing view into what's going on with the payroll at this moment in time. It also allows a whole bunch of edit activities. You can go into each individual person, see the details of them, see what's going on with them. You can look at the high level and drill in and go, what starters have I had? What levers have we had? Does that look right? And that level of data and information is transformative for what you're able to do and how you're able to work with Cintra. And we hope it will also be transformative for our software customers as they roll it out to other people in their business who might need that. And the key thing is you don't need to be a payroller to use this. Our core software is necessarily quite complex. And it isn't suitable for people who aren't really payroll experts. This is designed from the ground up to be so easy to use and understand that anybody should be able to use it, get value out of it. And then moving on, we've touched on it before, but we have the new starter wizard, which is an amazing way to add starters. So I haven't done the nice little video that Rob did for his essential starter wizard, which they have within Intelli. But for outsourced service customers who don't have Intelli HR, this is a really quick and easy way to add a new starter without having to put it in a spreadsheet and manually do something. Obviously, we would prefer you to use an HR system, connect it in and send that straight through. But if you don't have that, this new starter wizard makes it super easy to manage. And again, this is all about demonstrating how we've used that feedback loop, because that was a problem, and we would always get feedback of, oh, I don't have this bit, I don't have that bit, I don't know what's going on here. Putting this together, we can now do every single part of a new starter wizard, including the HMRC checklist at the end, to make sure that you've got all the different pieces of the puzzle, that when that person starts, they're going to get paid accurately. So if you're not already using this is great for all of our outsourced customers, but also for all of our software customers. If you're not having 30 or 40 new starters in a month or in a period, this is the quickest and easiest way to add a single new starter. It's quicker and easier than what we also have within our core application. So this is a basic summary of where we've gone to, and this demonstrates what a £3.5 million investment has done. And what we've actually done is we've reduced what we build, which seems like kind of counterintuitive. We're going to spend a load more money and do less. But reducing has then enabled us to improve our team. And reducing that and improving our team has enabled us to actually drive really interesting innovations. And I guess the other part to do with money on this is, okay, if I'm a software customer, how much are you going to charge me for using Cintra Cloud? Nothing. This is a natural evolution of where we see payroll going. Nobody is going to be charged anything for this. So if you're a current software customer and you're not using Cintra Cloud, you should speak to our team and work out how you can start to use it. And I think genuinely there are huge efficiency savings and innovations that you can take advantage of with that. But to just finish this off, this is the start of our journey at Cintra. This is not the end of where we're getting to. This is just the very, very beginning. I'll be coming on later to talk more about what that future roadmap is. But this Cintra Cloud platform has laid the base for what we're going to be able to build on. And up next, we have a presentation on Cintra Groups, which is the natural evolution of what we've done with Cintra Cloud. And I'm super excited because I think it's a genuinely revolutionary product. And all this work that we have put in has enabled us to then be able to do what I think is very innovative. So I'm going to hand over now to Eric, Mark, and Ed, who are going to go on to talk to you about Cintra Groups. Thank you.